Also, I think saying the word clap is quote unquote too long to line it up nicely.
I know. I was just being silly.
I think next time we should all say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious instead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds practical. I can definitely say that on command, and I don't have to practice.
I can say it in German, but in English I've got to practice.
Really? See, the funny thing is we were talking about this the other day, and then somebody redeemed the make FG speak German, and they want me to say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and I've never watched Mary Poppins in German, so I'm like, at least somebody had just posted it in chat, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this off, because I've never watched it in German, so I didn't know.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've watched movies in German deliberately. Probably since I was like 14 and they started showing movies in English at the cinema-ish.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
You make it sound like since then, though, you have watched multiple movies accidentally in German.
I mean, it does happen if I'm at like my mum's place and she's got the TV on, because everything is dubbed in German.
Same with my in-laws.
Of course, yeah.
And it's just horrible.
It is, yeah. Though to be fair, what's even worse is just like regular TV and ads. It's like,
I like ads.
I hate it. I hate watching.
I love Media Shop. It's so wrong. It's perfect. Like so fake.
What is Media Shop?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a channel where they just sell you things all the time, you know? There's this super amazing pan. And yes, and if you call now and you ordered, then you get this extra. I love it.
You're an infomercial enjoyer, Kiri, is that right?
Yes. I've never bought anything, but it is so fun. I love it.
I love watching. I haven't done this in years, but like it's when you go out with your mates and you come home at like 3:00 at night. That's like the perfect time to watch infomercials. Like when you're just like winding down, coming home from a night out. That's because they're even wackier, and they have like this infomercials, but then also interspersed with like weird call shows where people can call in, and it's just really wacky and weird, and it's just like, oh god,
it's so entertaining.
I think the only time that I've actually gone out of my way to watch infomercials is when I know it's a really silly one that has been uploaded to YouTube or something like that, like the Sham Wow and the Slap Chop ones, and they're just like completely like absurd and ridiculous.
I love the fake acting in it as well. Do you also struggle with opening tins? And then they
exactly.
And then they have like the black and white reenactments of like people failing to open milk cartons or open cupboards or sit down or something like that. It's like, well, so we have the answer for you.
And then I look at it and go like, I never knew this was a problem.
Yeah, that is
apparently
true.
It
yeah,
is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what is definitely not an infomercial is today's episode of the Halcyon Frequency podcast, which is episode 72. We're recording this on the 1st of June, pre-Diablo IV early access release, but it'll obviously be coming out post Diablo IV early access release. So we will hopefully the post Diablo IV early access release times find you well. I am FG Squared. I'm hosting this one. It's one of those early morning episodes again for Kiri and me, who is here with me, and an evening episode for Bloody Drongo. How are you doing today, Kiri?
I'm good. Thank you. Can't complain. I am so hyped for Diablo, and I'm gonna start in less than a day, actually.
Oh, I'm
Friday.
So excited for you. Woo! That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Drongo, how are you today?
I'm doing really good. I've just come off of the back of a pretty intense period of doing like lots of quite high effort streams, and so I've been winding down from that, and I've been doing some hobby stuff, and just enjoying life again. So yeah. I'm really good.
Yeah. You streamed like what 12 days in a row or something like that, with like 1 day off or something, right?
I did 9 days of streams with 1 day off. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was going to stream 10 days, but then I don't know how people do that frequent streams, because my voice was just starting to, actually get quite sore after doing that many days of concurrent streams.
Yeah, gotcha. But yeah, I don't know, like, gotta give it to the Twitch Australia and New Zealand team. They're just amazing. Like Subfest and Bitfest, just every year. They're so amazing. Oh God, can they just take over Twitch, please? Can you like tell them to do that? Because that would be amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've got a really great team down here that look after us, and for all of the stuff that we miss out on, and for Europe and North America, we do actually get some upsides and stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's you can tell like those are still people that are really passionate about their creators, and like they're trying to push them and all that sort of stuff.
100%.
And they're not afraid to like pull in new people into their events. They don't just go to like, they don't have their 20 set streamers that they go to. They're like, oh yeah, I know you. We're just gonna do it with you. They just open it up and they pull in new people, and it's great.
Yeah, I think that is one of the really good things, is that they do have some programs that open it up for a few different things, and they do also have a few more other interesting local programs that they're working on as well behind the scenes at the moment. So it's there's a lot of really exciting stuff here, and I can only hope that it serves as a kind of like proof of concept of running Twitch kind of in a really kind of personalized way that isn't, that is actually, scalable and workable for the rest of the platform. And maybe in the future things will go in the right direction a bit more than where they've been lately.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Hashtag the dream.
The dream.
The dream, yeah.
I guess it works because there aren't that many streamers in that region compared to everywhere else, really. So there's a team and they can actually focus on doing something with streamers there.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, there are only 12 of us down here in Australia, and at least, maybe half a dozen over in New Zealand. So really, it's not much to look after.
I mean, yeah, you're all the same person, right?
Pretty much,
anyways, yeah. That's what I've realized, yeah.
No, I think it's really great that you've got a team that does that. Because your streams have been amazing, Drongo. I love the Bob Ross one specifically.
That was
though. Please go ahead.
That was a lot of fun, and it is a nice thing as well. Like having those kind of structured events kind of gives a little bit of a formality and a little bit of kind of like, this is a legit thing for people to be, properly excited about. Because I feel like if I just said to people, I'm just going to do 10 days of, really different streams and stuff like that, there would be people who would be excited about it, but I don't think it would be like the same. I don't know. I don't think it'd be the same vibe. So having that structure there, and then having that as a leapfrog into kind of creating like different content and trying to, push myself to come up with new ideas and new formats for things, is just a really nice way to do it. Like doing the cooking streams and the art streams and stuff like that was all stuff that is pretty, in some way or another unfamiliar to me, but it was a really good kind of, challenge.
Yeah.
Nice. I remember they tried to bring this to the UK. They've done it like twice, but like it's so weird because it feels so fishy because we don't have any overlays or trackers or anything like that.
Oh.
So like the first time was like halfway secret, and I got some stuff from that. But like the second time round, like I don't know, they did it, but there's just no overlays, no nothing, no track. So it's really hard to like get people on board with it. So hopefully the Australia team comes around and be like, no, you have to do it like this, and then slap them in the face with a glove and be like, no, you just give them these resources. Blah, 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 blah.
The DACH team, so the German-speaking region, did that for just Germany last year, and they had trackers, but it was exclusively German partners.
Bummer.
Yeah,
huh.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's definitely a shame.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe they'll refine it for, I don't know, this year or next year, and stuff gets, I don't know, maybe update it easier and everybody can participate or something.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do with them having to like send out bits and stuff like that, and then different like competition rules guideline. I don't know.
I imagine that would be a huge element of complexity in actually organizing something like that. You know, the different, you know, laws and stuff in terms of like, I guess even like the data collection aspect of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It is probably more complex than we realize actually getting it organized. But at the same time, like I think it is worth pointing out that it is a really kind of lucrative thing for Twitch to do from the perspective that, you know, they obviously get a cut of, you know, all of the subs and bits that get spent on the platform. And these events, you know, I think typically speaking to other partners and, you know, myself, knowing how that kind of impacts the financial performance of my channel, it can be anywhere from like a 50 to 100% increase in overall revenue for that month in what are usually fairly quiet periods. So it definitely does have a, you know, a direct impact on the platform. So I think if Twitch figures it out, as well as being like a nice thing to do, it makes them more money. So, and makes us more money. So it's like win-win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yep. But you know what's not a win? Some of the games that we're going to be talking about in the next segment. We'll be right back just after this short musical interlude. Stick around. This is the Halcyon Frequency Podcast, episode 72. We'll be right back with you. Welcome back to episode 72 of the Halcyon Frequency Podcast. I'm still FG. With me here are Kiri and Drongo. So Australia and Austria represent. But because I teased it already in the last segment, I'm going to give the baton to Drongo and ask him to tell us about his delightful experience with the Lord of the Rings Gollum game. Tell us more.
Yeah, I feel like there was a bit of heavy foreshadowing there when you opened the segue with talking about something that's not a win-win-win. Yeah, Lord of the Rings Gollum. It is unfortunately not a win, which is a massive shame because I was quietly optimistic that maybe this isn't a title that would appeal to a lot of people, but for somebody like myself who is very much heavily invested into the, you know, Lord of the Rings lore and the universe overall, and you know, I personally think that it was kind of like a pretty brave and refreshing angle to take of investigating the character of Gollum, who is, you know, actually fairly complex from a narrative standpoint, but you never really get to see that, and he never becomes like a focal point of that, you know, that complex side of him and the internal struggle between Smeagol and Gollum. And I was hoping that maybe that would come together into something that, at least for, you know, hardcore fans of the genre, would be quite enjoyable. And unfortunately, it just is not good. There are a few like high points that I will mention, just so it's not all negative. The musical scoring is absolutely gorgeous, and really I think they nailed it. Absolutely nailed the overall vibe. And the art style that they use in some of the cutscenes, which is like a hand-drawn sort of scrawled style, I think stylistically is really, really nice. And I think it's actually a massive shame that it doesn't feature more heavily throughout the game and kind of tie it all together. That said, the rest of the game is just a bit of a mess. Like, a lot of people I've heard comment saying that the voice acting is really, really bad. And I don't think I actually agree with that. I don't think the voice acting is really bad. I think the voice acting is okay. But the reason why people think it's bad is because the audio is mixed really, really badly. And it always sounds kind of semi out of place in wherever it is, which makes people go, oh, that's bad voice acting because it doesn't sound right. But it's not actually the voice acting that's bad. It's actually the audio mixing and like the sound engineer aspect of actually putting it and making it fit within the environment within the game that's not great. Then the camera and the movement is just not good. It honestly, like, I don't have like simulation sickness or anything like that. I don't typically have a lot of issues with that sort of thing, but the camera is like super jumpy, super sensitive, and does a lot of unexpected movement, and there's quite a lot of frequent freezes that will spin the camera around and do all kinds of things. And after playing for a couple of hours, I was definitely starting to feel a bit motion sick.
Oof,
and the story is just not compelling. I mean, I think there maybe could be an okay story. Admittedly, I've only played a few hours of it. That was all I could kind of stomach at the time. Maybe there is something there to it, but at least for the couple of hours, the few hours that I've played, it just didn't grab me. It just didn't really... And there was a lot of stuff that just didn't really make sense and kind of make me feel like I should be committed and interested in the story at all, which I think if you've given something a couple of hours, a really, really good game, or even a fairly okay game, should at least be able to get its hooks in with you, especially when it is a story-driven game.
Yeah, agreed.
That sounds so sad, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played it for like I watched you play it because it was okay-ish for me to watch. I also got a key, but I could not play it because the game has motion blur that you can't turn off.
Yeah,
plus
that's
with
really bad.
That jerky camera that you mentioned is just no-go for me personally. And yeah, it's I was low-key also excited because like you, I'm also a Lord of the Rings connoisseur, and I enjoy the lore and the universe and everything, and I'm always down for more stories and games set in Middle Earth, but yeah, unfortunately I don't even get to like experience it, and clearly it's not, I don't know. Do you think it's like the developer like overreaching, or like, I don't know, because it feels like, or did they rush it too much? But then Daedalic is not really, because Daedalic it's published by Daedalic, right? Because it's made by it's made by Narcon, but published by Daedalic, right? That's, if I recall that correctly. Let me just... Oh, no, it's developed by Daedalic and then published by Daedalic and Nacon, actually. I have to correct that. Too. So it is published by Daedalic. So did Daedalic just like... Because the thing is, Daedalic is mostly known for the Deponia games, which are point-and-click adventure games, which are 2D. So... Was this just too ambitious of a project for them overall that they then rushed to put out?
I think, honestly, I think it is. And there's a couple of little kind of clues that make me think that it was released due to budget constraints more so than them going, yeah, this is, we're ready to put this out. And there's a couple of things that make me think that. Number one is when they a while back, and we talked about this on the podcast, when they actually announced that they were going to be charging for the Elven voice acting as a separate DLC. I think that's an interesting aspect, but now seeing the state of the main game, I actually think that is them trying to get some more money back into the coffers, because they are in not a great place financially, or at least that segment of the business. The other thing that makes me think that is just the incomplete and really unpolished nature of the game, and the fact that there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the developers, the publishers, all of the PR people would have known the state of the game that they were putting out, and they would have known that it was going to get a negative reception, but they would have just gone, okay, yeah, but we cannot afford to hold it back and develop it further. We need to put it out now, even though it is going to be damaging to our reputation and to our brand, which makes me think that those are the two big things that kind of stand out to me. But yeah, it's just really bizarre in a lot of senses as well, because there is elements to it that I think I just don't understand what they were going for. Like, I don't even understand what they were trying to execute. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one for sure.
Yeah. It's got obviously the reviews came out before the game came out.
Mm-hmm.
So most people obviously didn't buy it. It has only 245 reviews on Steam, and it sits on 35% positive. So it's mostly negative. Because I think a factor is also, it's not just that it has that DLC, right? The DLC cost. It has the voice acting DLC. It has the lore compendium, which is as additional DLC as well, and the lore companion is £4. The Syndat voice acting is quote unquote only too, but the actual in-game tracker of lore and like the companion that gives you more information is locked behind a £4. So I guess like what, $5-6 DLC, which is bonkers to think about.
That is not good.
And the actual game, because this is Data Lake. It's not indie. I would call them AA at this point, because they are pretty big. They're pretty big in the publishing game. As a developer, I think I would probably still call them AA, not AAA. But the game is £43. This is a $60 game basically, or 55 or whatever it is, like in local price. It's crazy. And yeah, I don't know. It's
I would genuinely love to be a fly on the wall to understand how this happened to be, because it's always so interesting to me to see these projects that people literally spend years of their life working on. And they've like, and Lord of the Rings is such a involved and engaged fan base, and I don't think you come at a game like, oh, let's make a game about Gollum, because I think if you're like out there and you're just like wanting to make a Lord of the Rings game with that IP and want to just make a bunch of money off it, I don't think Gollum is the character that you choose. It feels like, to me, Gollum is the character that you choose if you're really like a hardcore fan and actually passionate about the IP, and I think, oh man, wouldn't that be cool if we got to see kind of, you know, Gollum's journey after the Hobbit takes place. Like, oh man, that would be pretty cool. And then ending up to what we actually got served as a product, going from that motivation of, you know, it feels like something that is genuinely passion driven, to what was fundamentally like a bit disappointing. I will say that I do think that some of the criticism does feel like it's a little bit overblown. It's definitely not a good game, but I think some people definitely just, the vibe I get is like just wanting to get on the hate bandwagon and just, you know, have their 2 cents. And I'm not a big fan of that personally. Which is why I always try to balance, the good with the bad where I can.
I wasn't probably gonna stream it. I was gonna try and check it out and like to form an opinion, but as I said, I literally unfortunately couldn't, because like I started it and like immediately I was like, okay, no, there's this, I can't do it. It's disappointing because it is such a beloved IP for so many, for me too, and I am always down for more Lord of the Rings stuff. I mean, now we're getting more Lord of the Rings stuff, but like for probably a decade it was mostly quiet in Lord of the Rings, because you had Lotro, but that was kind of it, like in the gaming space, I mean, for Lord of the Rings. And now with like Amazon taking over the IP, obviously they're gonna go with it, and we're getting new stuff. I'm just hoping that the new stuff is better. I am still cautiously optimistic about this dwarven survival mining game that's coming out later this year, and I hope it's good. Please
Fingers
let
crossed,
it be good. Yeah. Oh god.
That couldn't be more up my alley, to be honest. So I'm
right
hopeful.
though. Same. I just hope it's good. Please don't be, or just don't be bad. Okay, just don't be bad. Just be fun, and I don't know. It doesn't even need to be like super duper heavy on the lore. It just needs to look like the Mines of Moria, and just have some bits in there that you recognize, and then I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, I was gonna make a stupid segue about like talking about camping, but there isn't really any camping in Above Snakes. But Kiri, how are you enjoying Above Snakes?
I like it. It's really good. I bought it because you were streaming it. Because it was a bit late to the whole, hey, content creators, you want a key? I was too late to that, so I actually bought it because it seemed pretty good. And I played the demo, I don't know, the next fest, the one before that. And it has such horrible camera and screen shaking and everything. But then you told me they fixed that, or gave us options.
Yep.
And I like it. The story's a bit wonky. But like, I don't know, if you start out and they just abandon you, like, what's up with that?
Yep.
Kind of strange, but then whatever. The game definitely needs some quality of life settings. But I had the developer in my stream and could already provide feedback, and they said they're working on it. And there's actually been an update already doing some of that. So I'm happy. Like, this is a really good game. And they're different biomes, right? So I'm not going to explain too much about it, because if you don't know the game, then you just need to listen to the previous podcast episode.
Yeah, I already talked about it a bit, yeah.
Exactly, but they're different biomes, and, you know, I love winter. So as soon as I realized there is a snow biome, I packed up my house. Actually, not quite. I just made a new house, and I moved to the snow biome, and now I live there, and I can farm there. And of course, the wells produce water. Like, nothing's frozen. Yes, there's snow everywhere, but you can still do everything. I feel like you shouldn't, but I don't care.
Whatever.
So my neighbors are penguins and polar bears and Arctic wolves. It's perfect.
Nice. Yeah. I think I complained about the farming on the episode on that came out last week, talking about Above Snakes. Farming has been revamped and buffed massively. It is no longer tedious. It is now doable, which is nice. You don't need to like spend a bajillion hours just gathering water so you can water your farms and stuff like that. So they've definitely tweaked that. Yeah, the story definitely doesn't the game definitely doesn't shine with its story or with its writing.
No,
but it's a fun survival game. I think it's a different setting that doesn't get to that they don't explore. Like, it's a setting that doesn't get explored too many times, especially like if you also bring zombies into the context. So yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's a solo dev project as well, so that's pretty impressive.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, yeah, like you can tell it does use Blind's favorite asset pack.
I never noticed these things.
Oh yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah. If you look at the characters and stuff, it's the low poly asset pack and other things like that. And obviously, like, the portraits are commissioned and stuff like that. But it comes together as a coherent game, and it's
a good experience. I think it's very entertaining.
Yep, it's a good stream game.
Yeah.
What really is the? So I've only seen like snippets of this from lurking in both of your streams. What is the setting exactly for those of us who aren't fully familiar?
It's a survival. It's an isometric survival crafting game inspired by the Wild West. It's not set in the Wild West. It's like inspired by the Wild West.
Okay.
With zombies. And there's a story, basically, meteors crash to the ground and people turn into zombies, and you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
While being abandoned by everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, could you gather some mushrooms for me? Oh yeah, sure, I'll be right back. And then you find a letter, right? Oh yeah, so while you were gone, a wagon came by and collected all the survivors, so I'm gonna be gone now. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, they just, your friend Joanne just abandons you. And slight spoiler, never ever shows up ever again. Because I finished the game.
What is this?
She just abandons you.
This is hilarious. But see, it's
great.
To be
maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kiri.
No, you go first.
I was going to say, to be fair, she sounds like a terrible friend, and you're probably better off without her.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think that ties in nicely with Solasta, which we can talk about now, because Above Snakes, the story and the dialogue is sometimes just as wonky as in Solasta, but it doesn't take away from the game. I think it's just, for some reason, it's just plain funny. And I don't mind. I don't know. Some games do this really well, badly well, or I don't know how to say it. Other games, it's like, oh, come on, can't you just fix it? But with those two games, I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's with Solasta? Now I'm curious. With the new DLC, why in particular is Solasta coming up as an example here?
Well, it's not just the new DLC, but Solasta as a whole. I mean, we've played it together, right? It's just that the dialogue is so odd. Like, there's a super serious conversation, and then one player character just says, "Okay." Like,
oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Wonky written dialogue that's kind of immersion breaking, but also to the point where it's just entertaining.
Yeah. I get it now. I think I misunderstood it first. Okay. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean that is a good point as well. Is that there is a new DLC out for Solasta, as kind of briefly touched on, which is the Ice Palace. And I know, Kiri, you've played it. I've played it. And what are your thoughts, Kiri? What did you think of it?
I liked it. It's if you enjoy Solasta, it's just more Solasta content. But the dialogue is a bit wonky again, and the camera sometimes as well. Because so it's a high level campaign. You start with level 10 characters. You can either import a save file from completing the base game and continue with those characters. You can create new ones and then level them up, which is going to take ages. Or you can play pre-made characters, which is what I did because I was sponsored for it and they didn't want me to just spend 2 hours in character creation sometimes. So Palace of Ice, absolutely perfect for me. So you go to snow and ice and winter biome. Love it. And I had a druid, and druids can transform themselves into other creatures. So I made my druid into a gorilla for a fight, and they can throw rocks. So I throw a rock at an enemy, and you get the super cool action cam because it was a nat 20, so I crit. But the camera zoomed in and lowered itself on the level of the gorilla, shot that rock, but there was actually the gorilla was behind cover, so there was a wall there, and you didn't see what you hit. It was just, oh, look at this amazing hit that you're just doing, and we're just facing a wall. Cool. So it's wonky. It is wonky, but also it's kind of really cool, and it does the D&D thing well, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think
that reminds me. Sorry,
go ahead, FG.
I was just going to say, it reminds me of the camera in Darkest Dungeon 2, when sometimes you just come out of a cutscene and it's just black, and then you're like, oh crap, I think my game froze, and then you press W, and then you're actually, no, the camera was just inside a texture from like when you're driving around, like, because certain biomes, everything like just goes so much into your field of view, and if you come out of a fight, the camera sometimes just spawns inside a texture, and it's great. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Thanks for the heart attack game. Didn't need this morning. Appreciate it. But that was just a funny interjection there. Tell go ahead, Drongo, what you were going to say.
Well, I was just going to say that I think it also reminds me of the kill cams that you get in Bethesda games with like Fallout and with VATS and in Skyrim and stuff like that. They can be very, very janky sometimes. I think the dramatic kill cam is such a almost ubiquitous idea to try and make a moment more impactful, but in execution, I think it can be really hard to pull off. But like Kiri, I also think that for all of the things that kind of are a little bit disappointing in Solasta that it falls short of, it is nothing that is game-breakingly bad that significantly reduces your ability to enjoy all of the things that it does right. And I think in a lot of aspects, in particularly the combat and the system around it, in representing like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, it does that really competently. So even though I do find myself finding the dialogue and sometimes the interactions between story elements and then having that tie together with the game world and then your own characters within the game doesn't always come together in a satisfying way as you would expect in maybe some other games or in an actual D&D session. It does the stuff that it does well enough to be like, oh Solasta, you rascal, you tried. I can't be mad at you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Agreed. Yeah, I haven't played the new DLC yet, but I've played like previous DLCs in the game and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. I already brought it up, and you put it on your list. So give us your thoughts and impressions and all that sort of stuff of Darkest Dungeon 2, Drongo.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been on an episode for a couple of weeks now, but yeah, so I mean, this is my first time to kind of share my thoughts with you guys about Darkest Dungeon 2, and I think it's a great game. Like, I played maybe a few hours of the first one prior to Darkest Dungeon 2 coming out, and now I'm about 30 hours into Darkest Dungeon 2, and it has just been so unbelievably difficult and punishing and frustrating and demoralizing and humiliating, and I've loved every second of it. It has just been so satisfying, and when you finally get things to come together and things go your way, it feels that much sweeter because of all of those times where you have tripped and fallen down and had to dust yourself off. It is just the most masochistic game I could imagine, and I'm there for it. I mean, I do all kinds of things to myself in my gaming that just make things more miserable. So it's like, it's right up my alley. So I've really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Sounds like you're playing it right. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Are you going to try and complete it on stream, or are you going to just play it for yourself?
I mean, I've put about 20 or so hours into it on stream, and I don't know if I want to keep playing it on stream because there's other things that I want to kind of play and move my content forward with. And also, I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea, that really super depressing, grim, dark aesthetic. And, you know, sometimes what can be, you know, somewhat repetitive gameplay as well, I don't think always makes for the best content. So there are other things that I'll move on to, but I think that trying to complete Darkest Dungeon 2 in my own time is something that is going to make its way onto my gaming bucket list that I would like to try and do at some point. Yeah.
Nice.
One day.
Awesome.
One day, yeah. I mean, it took me 20 hours to beat Act 1, so oh boy, got a long road ahead of me.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah. No, I'm glad you're enjoying it so much. I beat Act 1 like on my second try, but like Act 2 just been kicking my butt. Actually, it's not the worst to do Act 1 over and over and over, or to do Act 2 without trying to get to the boss, because you need to push your characters and you need to unlock stuff and get candles anyways.
That is true. Yeah.
So it's not the worst idea to do that. I have fallen out a little bit, I think, out of love with Darkest Dungeon a little bit. Darkest Dungeon 2 a little bit. Mostly not because the game is bad, but I've kind of realized how much there is to unlock and how long it takes to unlock things.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like it's not quite respecting the player's time as well as it could. Like, I feel like some things just take way too long to unlock.
Yeah, I can understand your feelings on that. Yeah, there is a lot there, and I mean 20 to 30 hours of game time, which is where I'm at with it, is definitely not an insignificant amount of time to put into a title. I mean, like, if I stopped playing it now and I'd bought it at full price, I would be thinking around 20 to 30 hours for an average game. I would be on the brink of being like, yeah, I've probably got my money's worth from that. I'm not going to be upset if I never play this again. And knowing that I've unlocked a fraction of the things and I've experienced maybe like 20% of the game content, I don't know if I have like mixed feelings about that, because yes, you could make the argument that, well, you know, there's just more content for you to experience and more hours that you can put in, but at the same time, like, a lot of those hours are going to be experiencing the same content over and over and over again without actually introducing a lot of new stuff, and it's just going to be grinding out those unlocks.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I understand where you're coming from with that. I don't think I'm quite there myself in terms of the same feelings, but I can understand where you're coming from.
I think it's kind of driven because I've very recently played both on stream and off stream, like, story games that were done in less than 20 hours, and it was a really fulfilling journey for that, and on stream as well. Like Above Snakes, it took me about 20 hours to finish the story, and 19.7 hours, and I've gotten all but 3 achievements. So and I played through. So I think that's where I'm coming from. Just from a position of having, like, just finished a whole bunch of games in the time where in Darkest Dungeon 2, I have not felt I've made too much progress because I've just been unlocking things.
Yeah.
With candles. So yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, my voice. That doesn't feel like progress to you? That you unlock things?
See, normally it does, because I love roguelites, but for some reason in Darkest Dungeon 2, I feel like a lot of the unlocks don't have a heavy impact. Because, like, you spend so many candles on having to unlock, like, all the trinkets and all of the different items that you can then buy. And a lot of the items that you can buy and trinkets that you get, I'll never use, but I have to unlock them because they block everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know.
I understand it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I do agree with that point, though, that there is a lot of... It feels like unless you're playing with, like, a really, really nuanced understanding of the game, and you know exactly what your builds are going to be, and, you know, exactly what you're targeting all the time, it very rarely feels like a moment of being like, oh, I've unlocked something. Yes, that's going to be amazing for our next run. Like that feeling of, like, okay, awesome, I've actually unlocked something that's going to be pretty impactful is pretty rare, at least for me. But that might also be me just being naive and not really understanding the impact of some of the stuff, which, I don't know, like, I have a lot of thoughts about the way that the game teaches you. I think the overall tutorial for Darkest Dungeon 2, for somebody who is new to the games and really doesn't know too much about them, I think it's terrible. The tutorial is absolutely awful, and it does a really bad job, and the UI is very bad at kind of being intuitive and helping a new player understand what's going on and how to navigate things and how to do things. And it definitely subscribes to that idea of, we're going to make this game really hard for you, not just in the aspect of gameplay, but make it really hard for you to learn and make it really hard for you to navigate, and it's going to be miserable. But yeah, I don't know. Once you get past that initial learning curve, it is a lot better. But even then, yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, I feel like I also have to say, I don't think by any means that Darkest Dungeon 2 is a bad game.
No.
It's just, when it came out, I was, like, super excited, and I was really in love with the roguelite idea, but I feel like they took the grind just a tiny step too far. Because there's so much that you have to do. If you want to do, like, all the characters, like, do all the hero shrines for all the characters and all that sort of stuff, it takes a long time, like a long time to unlock all the things. So yeah, that's basically the reason, if anybody was wondering, I don't know, why I've dropped streaming it as well, because it's just so much grind and doing the same thing over and over and over again. And yeah, and other games came along as well, but it's still fun. And I think if maybe Darkest Dungeon 1 wasn't quite your deal, maybe Darkest Dungeon 2 is. Because of the different progression. So if you like the grind, which normally I do, I don't know what it is about Darkest Dungeon 2. Maybe I prefer the old unlock system in it, but there was a lot less to unlock, so maybe I also don't. I don't know. It's hard. I can't quite put my finger on it, what it is, but I know there's something where because I was thinking of putting it into my hypothetical game of the year list, but I've since then removed it because there's just something that I can't put my finger on where I'm like, meh, I don't actually have the urge that much to go back to this for some reason. But I can't quite verbalize what it is. Very odd. Okay, that's all of y'all's games. I played a game too. I played a different game. I mean, I also played Above Snakes. As I said, I finished it, but I'm not going to talk about it again because Kiri did and I did last week as well. I checked out the new update for Timberborn.
I saw you playing that.
Yeah, so if you don't know what Timberborn is basically the humans are gone, beavers have become sentient, and you build a colony, and they call it like what, beaver punk, because a lot of the stuff is like, everything is wood, so everything's made out of wood, everything is wood driven, like the water wheels in the industry and all that sort of stuff. There's also metal, but it's plays kind of a minor role. Most important is wood and whatnot. And I don't know how long it's been since y'all played, but one of the most frustrating things in Timberborn was always districts, where you had a district building. You can only your beavers could only walk so far along certain paths to get stuff done, and then you would need another district building, and then you would have to trade between the districts, and it would just get really messy with the inventory and stuff like that. Well, you no longer have to. Districts are now unlimited in range. So
that's great.
It's gonna take forever for your beaver to walk to the other side of the map, but they'll do it. And it's so nice. It's so nice. Oh, God, I'm so happy that you can still do districts. And if you want to have an optimized settlement, you should have them. But you don't have to. And you don't have to bother setting them up if you're just trying to, I don't know, dam up a tiny little area on the other side of the map, which sometimes in this game you do want to, depending on the map, because you have to, make sure that the water doesn't flow out of, a chasm on the other side of the map, basically, because you want to dam it up. They've improved FPS massively, which is probably why they were able to do away with districts. It runs beautifully at 1440p max settings, 60 FPS. It just runs. It looks gorgeous. The other big update that they did was they've completely revamped how the food for the second faction works for the Iron Teeth. So there's two different factions that you can play. They're called Folktales and Iron Teeth. Folktales are a little bit more nature-y, and they're closer to nature and doing things with nature, whereas the Iron Teeth are a little bit more on the industrial side and whatnot, and they have a bit more access to industrial buildings and whatnot, and furnaces and whatnot. And so the Folktales can do underwater farming, whereas the Iron Teeth no longer can. Instead, for them, you have to ferment food now, which needs energy, basically, so power. So you have to produce power to do that. And it's good. It's moving steadily on. They've made the factions give different feels. So they've improved on definitely the content. The factions before, they felt really similar. Despite the fact it's different how you grow the factions in terms of population, because one needs houses to grow, the other needs tanks, basically, because all the babies for the Iron Teeth are vat grown. They've definitely still moved them further apart in their playstyle, which is nice because options are always good. And no, it's good. It's moving in a good direction. I only did two streams of it, two shorter streams of it. Because it's still Timberborn. I've done all the things in it that you can do, built the monuments and stuff like that. I'm excited to see. I'm excitedly waiting for the game to be finished. But it's good. No, Timberborn is always good. It's currently on 20% off sale as well. If you've been thinking about picking it up, right now is a good point because it is on massive discount. But it's still Timberborn. It's moving in a good direction, and I'm excited to see where it ends up in the future.
That sounds good. Nice changes.
Yeah, good changes, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, they listen to feedback and stuff like that, because I know most people that played the game were like, I really like this, but screw districts, they suck.
They did, yes.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating.
Yeah, it really was. So it's good that they're listening to that and taking player feedback seriously and all that sort of stuff. It's cool. I like it. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Though looking at how long it's taken, I think we're not going to see finished Timberborn for another couple of years, at least at this point. Depending on how much they want to add. But it's been out since 2021, I want to say, right? Maybe?
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I feel correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like Timberborn is one of those games where if they really wanted to, they could have stopped a while ago. It would have been, I think, at a point where it's this is a functional, enjoyable game that can be enough for people, but it feels like they're just continuing to polish and continuing to refine, and I personally don't have a problem with that, because it's it's already in a really fun and playable state. At least it was the last time I played it, and from what you're saying, it's only gotten better.
Yeah 100%. There's no crashes or anything like that. I still think stuff takes a little bit too long in it. I find myself, but maybe that is also on me. Maybe I just have to sit down and crank up my production more, but then you can't do that because you're lacking the beavers. I feel like certain buildings just the amount of resources it takes to make them just is insane. But then I also don't like to play on 3x speed when I'm streaming it, because it's super the animations are then super duper fast, and that's not very nice to look at. I feel like that can still be tweaked a little bit, resource costs for certain things and research costs for certain things. Like I did this yesterday again. You can't really get with the Iron Teeth, because they changed how the science point generation building, so you can only have the inventor, or you need to save up 1,500 science points to get the really good inventor for them. And 1,500 science points, even if you have 2 or 3 inventors going, it's going to take forever. And I was trying to terraform some stuff and get dynamite going, but you have to unlock the dynamite factory first for 600 science points to make dynamite, but then to use the dynamite you have to spend another 400 science points. And I don't know, waiting there's a lot of waiting around in Timberborn, which is not the worst if you've got a stable colony. You're not in danger, but you also have nothing else to do, which is why I think I got a little bit bored at the end, which is why I then switched or stopped playing. But it is a good game, and you can do I really like the vertical building in it. You can do some really cool things with it.
Yeah, sure. I really like the building system in it. It adds a lot of freedom in the customization. Yeah.
Very creative system as well, for building. You can do so much with it and make very unique looking towns, which is cool. All right, that's all the games that we've been playing this week. So I guess it's time for another short break, and then we're back with the news, and we actually have some stuff to talk about this time. So stick around, and we'll see you shortly. And we're back with episode 72 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. You have made it all the way to the news section, and first up, we've got Kiri with some Diablo IV news. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. So, by now, Diablo IV Early Access has started. But this is actually only for the actual release. So, starting on the 6th then. The first 1,000 people who reach level 100 with a hardcore character in Diablo IV and submit proof will have their usernames immortalized on a statue of Lilith, which I think is really, really cool.
That is awesome.
That is really cool. Are you going to try for it?
No, absolutely not. Because I'm not going to no-life this, because I need my sleep, and it starts at 1 a.m. Actually, I've only looked at the early access release time, but I would assume that the just normal release time is also in the middle of the night for me, and I can't do that.
Yeah.
But also, it's a new Diablo game, and we don't know how the servers are going to hold up. and hardcore in a game like this with open world, and no, absolutely not. That's just asking for trouble. I think it's a really cool thing, and I will definitely play hardcore at some point, but not right at the start.
Gotcha.
Is there any like indication that you have, like, or estimation of like how many hours it would take to reach level 100? Like,
No,
just for
honestly.
scale for me as a non-Diabloer.
So with the betas, there were 2 where you could make it to level 25, and then the last one was till level 20, and I think I reached level 20 in 4 hours.
Right. Okay.
But I would assume it just takes a bit longer then as you level up and reach higher levels. I have no clue. I can't say.
What is the level cap for Diablo 4?
It is 100. Yeah, so basically reach max level in hardcore.
Gotcha.
Which is it's going to take a while, right? But also Diablo 4 is a bit tougher than the previous one. In a dungeon, for example, the butcher can randomly spawn, and the butcher is a classic Diablo boss from previous games. But also, it's so hardcore. It's just, it runs after you. It has massive amounts of health, and you're probably gonna die. So you can die, you can run away. If you face it, good luck. With a hardcore character, I would definitely just run. But it's a random spawn. So you don't know if you go into this dungeon, it's gonna happen. It's just, it might happen in any dungeon. So be careful. But you have to go into dungeons to get the really good stats, radio aspects, as they're called, for your weapons. So that makes hardcore even more dangerous. Then you have random events spawning as well, although you see events on the minimap and you can just dodge them if you'd like. And I would definitely not recommend doing a world boss on hardcore if you've not seen the boss before, because the bosses are like MMO bosses, which is really cool. But with a hardcore character, you die, you're dead.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
First, I want to learn the game, and then maybe for the, I don't know, maybe not the first, but maybe for the second season, I'm going to play in hardcore.
Yeah, learn and enjoy it as well. Like, as a casual player, just enjoying like the atmosphere and the story, I guess, and like, just being back in the world of Diablo. Nice, cool.
That makes sense. I think that's a great thing, though. Like, I love when games incorporate like community achievements into the actual game itself. Like, I think that's just a really nice like acknowledgement, and I really am into those ideas.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Talking about incorporating things that go beyond like what the actual idea of the game is, there is a GeoGuessr World Cup that's been announced. Tell me more, Drongo.
So they've announced the first ever like official GeoGuessr held World Cup to be held in Stockholm in October this year. And it is worth noting that there have been other organized like GeoGuessr tournaments and stuff like that, but this is the first time that GeoGuessr is, formally having their own sort of set up. It is a closed qualification, and it does appear to be like invite only, so only people that are really high ranked and really well known in the community are going to be chosen, and also people who are from different countries as well. And there may be a few different people from the same country going, but it is quite limited in scope, and it's not an event that people will be able to attend in person either, which is a little bit of a shame. But I guess it's the first time and kind of a proof of concept. I guess they want to kind of suss out the interest and the expense and all that kind of thing. So I think it's probably better off that they start small. I would personally love to see in the future that they open it up for qualifications and actually allow people to try and get in there and qualify. I mean, personally, for somebody like myself who has played a lot of GeoGuessr and a lot of like competitive GeoGuessr, both competitive against other people and myself, I would low key, like, if they had an open qualification for a World Cup, I would definitely like try. Even though it's not like my main bag, but I think it would be a lot of fun. They have a $50,000 prize pool at the moment, which is not insignificant. Bad. So hopefully it's a success and it grows from here, and hopefully maybe next year we see like some open qualification formats and the event continue to grow from there.
That would be great. Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to I would love to see Drongo do that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's because it's really fascinating how people do it, and like the meta that has involved in the competitive circles. Like, I know some people are like, there's like different categories, and some people are like, okay, yeah, don't look at the camera, because from like certain people can just tell from the camera, from the picture quality and like what you see on the picture, which country it has to be, because there are certain countries where they had like defective lenses or special lenses, and you can tell immediately that it's like that country and whatnot. And it's just that the meta is fascinating. The GeoGuessr meta around everything is just absolutely fascinating. It goes really deep. Like in Japan, if your camera is lower than you would normally expect it to be, that's because in Japan, like they mandate that the Google camera cannot be above a certain height, which in other countries is standardized. So you can usually almost go, all right, this is definitely Japan because I can see that the camera is lower. Or that, there's a snorkel on the front of the car. So that probably means that we're in, northern Kenya because that was the vehicle they used. Or maybe there's a chase vehicle behind. And there's like two different chase vehicles that they used in Africa. One of them has a map on the dashboard when they were mapping that segment. The other one doesn't. So you can work out that you're in a certain part of the country as opposed to the other. And it just goes really, really deep. It is incredibly complex. Yeah. Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see this. I hope they stream this somewhere or like
they've broadcast
it. Because I would love to watch it. Yeah.
There's no way they don't have a big in-person event like that and not broadcast it. I've got to imagine they're going to do some big promotion on Twitch or something like that for it. Like that's the only way it makes sense. But the timing is going to be quite tricky, because I think there's going to be quite a lot of stuff happening in mid-October when this is going to be held. So who knows?
Oh, is this during TwitchCon? Maybe?
No, it's before.
I think it's the week before.
It's before.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, October 13th and 14th for those who are interested. Okay, that's doable then. That's nice. Awesome. Yeah, the next bit of news is like something that I put in, which is sort of a state of the release of the game Mountaincore, formerly known as King Under the Mountain. We've talked about this whole situation on this podcast before, where this game was, it is a dwarven colony management game quite akin to Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld. And it was kickstarted under the name King Under the Mountain. It then was released in early access, found a publisher. I think it was at least released into early access because you could buy it. Yeah, so no, it was purchasable. So it was early access. Then found a publisher, which then dropped the game last year. The game became no longer purchasable, renamed itself to Mountaincore, became self-published again, and came out again in early access. And it's a mess of a situation. We've talked about this on this podcast before as to why we speculate that the publisher dropped them. I'm still personally of the opinion that it was probably because Dwarf Fortress came out on Steam with graphics. Because I don't know, did you play it as Mountaincore Kiri? I know you did, Drongo, right?
I did for like a stream or less.
Yeah. Because so I backed this game back in the day on Kickstarter, but now having obviously also dove into Dwarf Fortress when that came out with graphics, it is just a lesser Dwarf Fortress. That's the problem. Like it and that's I think why the publisher dropped it, because it is trying to fill a void that existed of a Dwarven colony management with graphics on Steam. But then Dwarf Fortress came out on Steam with graphics, and that niche doesn't exist anymore, and it's just in all aspects, it's just not necessarily worse, but also not better than Dwarf Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no need for it, because you can do much less than Dwarf Fortress, because it doesn't have Z levels. It's all one flat plane like in RimWorld. But that's not what this post is about. This post is sort of a post-mortem of the Mountaincore release. And the developer is quite open about it, and has talked about it. Basically, right now, the game now sits at mostly positive, all reviews. So this article has helped, because at the time it was sitting on mixed. So now it's on mostly positive, but only from 45 reviews, which reflects what the developer also talked about, that the game has released again to very poor sales. And like 45 reviews means there was like usually about 10-ish% of people review a game. So let's say it sold 400, 500 copies, which, you know, after Steam was cut and everything, is not a lot of money. So apparently they had to basically let go of the small full-time development that they had hired for the game, because it was single dev first, then they hired people while under the publisher, and now they have to let them go. It is now back to being more of a hobby thing for the developer rather than their job. They do have a roadmap that they've apparently updated, which sort of has more like stretch goals now, which is, yeah, they go a little bit further than what I don't know, like there's like things that are planned, and then there is like extra bits, but reading through the roadmap, it is all stuff that Dwarf Fortress already does, like steel and alloys, trade goods, food supplies, healthcare, prestige progression, kingdom progression, dungeon exploration. Like it is all stuff that Dwarf Fortress already does.
And it doesn't have anything that makes it unique?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that was kind of when I played it, the thing that kind of stood out to me, that it doesn't really feel like it has a clear vision and identity that makes it stand apart, which I think is definitely reflected in the overall interest of the game, because I don't think look, if you just went to the store page and looked at it, I don't think the artwork or the game, the actual game aesthetic is going to blow you away. And I think when you look at what it does more in depth, you're like, well, could I, is this actually worth it? And the price point is actually kind of high, I think, as well, for what it actually is, which is an early access kind of colony management game, which there is just a lot of competition for. Like at the moment, I think it's about $36 $36 Australian dollars. And when you compare that to games like RimWorld, RimWorld is only maybe $10 more, and I would say has much more content, is much more polished. It's no longer an early access game. It then has DLCs and a modding community and stuff that kind of all act as value adds. And then to talk about kind of what you were saying in the comparisons to Dwarf Fortress, I mean, even Dwarf Fortress is how much is that off the top of my head?
Dwarf Fortress in pounds is only £5 more, the Steam version.
Yeah,
and I mean, you can get the non-Steam version for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, like it is a really tough sale, I think, when you have something that doesn't really make a concerted effort to be different and have its own real authoritative different stance on what it wants to be when you're directly competing against these other really established games like Dwarf Fortress, like RimWorld, and you're still pricing yourself at the same point as them. Like, I think there would be a lot more interest and a lot more sales if it was maybe priced at half of what it is. Maybe that is something that would happen in the future, now that it's no longer like trying to employ a team of people to actually produce it. But I think it's definitely a really stiff and tough competition to put themselves into.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't feel like right now is a good. Like 5 years ago, I think this would have been much more successful than in the current climate.
There's so much competition now in the city builder survival genre. Like, it's had a real renaissance in the last couple of years.
There's a lot of games coming out that took their inspiration from RimWorld or Dwarf Fortress, and yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like making an early access product in that environment, if you don't have something that's completely new that hooks people in, it's kind of almost futile to attempt to like establish yourself. Like, it's not like it can't be done, but the competition is just so crazy. So you need something new to just hook people in some way. And this game, unfortunately, doesn't really have it, which kind of sucks, because it's never nice to see a product like or a game idea that you were excited about fail. But I don't think this is going to. I have a feeling this game is not going to finish. This is not going to get developed all the way to the end. I feel this is one of those projects that's going to get dropped sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and
it's just not sustainable.
I do agree as well that I think it's a shame, because it's not as if it's a bad game or it's a bad product. It's not as if it hasn't been competently made. Like, I think when I played it, I didn't walk away feeling like any negative feelings about it, like, oh man, it was really buggy, it was a mess, these systems don't make sense, whatever. It just didn't have enough to make it different. It's not as if it's bad. So it's a shame.
It is, yeah. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on the situation. I mean, we'll obviously probably talk about this game in the future again.
Who knows? We might actually be, eating humble pie in a couple of years' time when it takes off.
I mean, that'd be great. I would be okay with being wrong about this, to be quite
100%.
honest. Right?
Same.
All right. Next up, we have lots of news. Next up on the docket is I don't even know how to pronounce it, because I only know of this site in passing, so I don't know if it's Glimesh, I don't know. Glimesh.tv, which is a streaming website, so a competitor to Twitch, which was released as a result of all of the horrible things that came out in 2020 about other streamers and Twitch staff and all of that stuff, when all of that was kind of talked about in public, and a lot of streamers were called out, but also certain Twitch staff were called out on their horrible behavior and how they've abused their power, and the just horrible things that some of these people have done, be it like sexual abuse, harassment, just all of those things. 2020, the summer there was a lot of things that happened that got like sort of revealed, and this was like a site that was made as a response to try and basically do better and put like creators first and treat them with respect and make sure that those kind of behaviors didn't have any place on their website and whatnot. And basically, with this huge preamble, this site is shutting down to at the end of July, or July they're shutting down. 1st of July they're shutting down, so they're going to be live for one more month. People can subscribe to their creators over there, so it is basically like Twitch. It's a direct competitor, but it's just not feasible because Twitch is just so big. It wasn't feasible. Because like I put this in here, and like both Kiri and Drongo were like, I don't even know this site. I haven't even ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that basically already that tells you why it's shutting down. It's sad to see another competitor go because competition is good. Still sucks that Mixer is gone because Mixer was so good for just competition with Twitch. But yeah, they're basically shutting down because it's just too expensive to run servers. Because servers, encoding servers, transcoding servers, they're just expensive to run, and then data storage as well, and all that sort of stuff. So there's another competitor gone.
I'm on their website right now, and unless I'm misunderstanding the website, there is only about 8 channels live on there at the moment. 2 in gaming.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
It's that is, that's
it's very
rough.
small. Yeah. Like it really did not take off. It really didn't take off. And they're yes.
Did any of them take off? Because I remember there were quite a handful of these websites trying to make like a Twitch competitor, another streaming platform. But I haven't heard of any of them like ever since they announced they're going to do something. I don't know.
No, not really. No, except for the where all the gamblers are going.
Yeah.
Except that one, but none of the others have really taken off. Twitch is just so they're just so giant in the streaming space, which is competition is good. We need a competitor that's actually like able to compete properly, and none of them have, as far as I know. So I don't know. I guess we'll wait for the next site to pop up eventually. Maybe, probably not though.
Or for YouTube to just, I don't know,
get good.
Be more, I don't know.
Yeah.
Valid, I suppose, for live streaming. Because right now you go to YouTube for recorded content, but you can live stream, and I know people who do that.
Yeah.
But viewers don't go there for live stream, like for watching live streams.
It's just such a mess to try and navigate the live streaming side of things. That's what puts me off. Just trying to navigate and find streams to watch. It's just pain in the behind. Also, I don't like YouTube chat. I don't like that chat.
Yeah, it definitely has a way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've now visited all of the streams on Glimesh currently live, and the one that has the most viewers is 6 on the whole platform, which is... I'm honestly, with looking at that, like that little brief snapshot, I'm amazed they lasted that long. Like, honestly, that is remarkable.
Yep.
But
definitely.
I agree. I think it's a shame. More competition is more good in the streaming space, and hopefully we see some more pressure to keep Twitch honest and pushing them forward. Although I will say that I think Twitch has made some good changes lately. I think they've been moving things in a reasonably good direction.
Hopefully keep up with things. Yeah. All right. Who wants to take this last one? Because it's just so headache inducing.
I can start it.
Yeah, okay. You do it then.
Right.
Thank you.
Bobby Kotick, you've probably heard about him. Activision Blizzard CEO has now claimed in a recent interview that the sexism harassment problems, they were not real. I don't know. So he said there's no that the issue was actually the aggressive labor movement. Yeah, no systemic harassment issue at the company. I don't know why he says that. He also claims that they've done everything, like I don't know, every test or every investigation possible, and I don't know. He doesn't have a problem with unions, but only with unions who don't play by the rules. And he claims that is what happened, and now everything's just wrong. It is
He's such an idiot.
Why do you even open your mouth?
Idiot.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like no.
Yeah, it's
just no.
It's like perpetrator says we did nothing wrong. It's like, yeah, I don't believe you.
There's proof. I mean, like, what do you?
Yeah.
What do you want? Nobody's gonna believe you now.
Yeah, but can we just get rid of him, please?
Honestly, he reminds me. The whole strategy and rhetoric reminds me very much of what Trump does. Because, I lost my train of thought. What do you say now? Oh gosh, shoot. No, I forgot.
Do you mean the whole I am part of a union as well and I like union blah blah blah? Is that what you mean? Or
kind of that, yeah. Oh, it was in the article, but damn it.
Oh, you'll think of it again.
Maybe. But basically, it is not very believable what he says. Because there is proof. There are witnesses who have, confirmed what happened. It's like, why? Oh yeah,
he's
I
just
remember.
trying to put up fake
He says
news.
it can't have been true because he is still there. He's still a CEO, right? That is the claim.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Really?
That is why? Oh.
He's...
God.
I've had to kind of like bite my tongue here for a minute just to kind of collate my thoughts in like a more kind of polite way, but he's just an absolute slime ball. It drives me wild when these, multimillionaire CEOs that have so much power and control over their employees and their livelihoods and stuff like that get into these like situations, and then they just try and gaslight everybody and be like, well, no, this is not how this happened at all, despite the fact that we've got multiple corroborations on first-hand and second-hand witnesses, documents and internal filings about meetings and stuff that have been leaked, about the fact that they have literally settled lawsuits, sexual harassment lawsuits, which they would never have done if there was like, they were vehemently like, no, there's no way this ever happened. It drives me absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. And it is, man, I just cannot stand him. Like, he's just probably a great figurehead. He's a great figurehead for everything that is wrong in corporate America. Like, he's just, just the worst. He
is, yeah.
I won't say anymore.
I just hope
that sums it up though, yeah.
If the merger goes through, that he's just kicked out. Like,
I hope so.
Just kick him out. Like, honestly, like, oh god.
It doesn't look too good on the merger now, does it?
The UK is still blocking it, I think, right? Like, that's still the thing. So
I think they're looking at maybe taking alternate avenues to make sure it happens. But it's definitely at this stage it's hit a roadblock.
For now, yeah.
No, he needs to go. Like,
yeah, he really needs to go. Indeed. But I think we also really need to go because it's already a long one again. Because there was just so much news this week to talk about, and we could probably fill another hour talking about the scumbag that Bobby Kotick is, but we don't. You know what? We're gonna save ourselves and you that talk, so we don't end this on an angry note.
We're all gonna think it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Kiri and Drongo, for joining me on this here episode. Drongo, where can people find you on the internet?
Thank you for having me, FG. If you want to find me, you can find me on twitch.tv/bloodydrongo, all one word. And if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me there under the handle @TheBloodyDrongo.
Perfect. And Kiri, where can people find you?
You can find me super easily on 2dkiri.com. All my socials are linked there.
Wonderful. And I've been FG Squared, your host for this episode. If you want to look me up, you can find me at FG Squared, all one word as well, .tv. That's not FG Squared, all one word, .tv. It's FG Squared .tv. Just to make that clear. And yeah, this was episode 72 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. This is Halcyon Frequency signing off. Don't change that dial. We'll see you again all next week.